My Zesty Story is probably the time that I made a 20-question ملوخية survey to prove to my friends that my version of ملوخية is the best ملوخية. My name is Antonio Tahhan. I am a recent graduate of the Masters in Arab Studies at Georgetown, and I'm a food writer interested in the intersection of food, culture, and identity. I was born in Venezuela to a Syrian family, and I grew up in Miami. Up until I was an adult, I had never even visited or connected in a physical, tactile way with the Arab world. It was always from the diaspora, and food was a very important way that I understood who I was in terms of that part of my identity. The food scene in DC is excellent. I went with some friends to Share, which is an Eritrean restaurant, and it was outstanding Eritrean food. My friend came from Baltimore and we got to eat at Habibi, which they just got their first Michelin star, and it was a mind-blowing experience. Chef Michael Rafidi, he like does these local takes on the techniques from the Arab world, specifically from the Levant. We went to a Yemeni restaurant in Northern Virginia called Saba. For the longest time, a lot of restaurants would hide behind the predominant ethnic cuisine of their region. So for instance, you know, if you're from Southeast Asia, you'd call your restaurant Thai because that was like sort of a safe category. But now in DC, we have restaurants like Tip Cow that proudly say that we're from Laos. And if there's one thing about food and my food research that I've learned is that national categories aren't a great way to capture the diversity of cuisine in a large area. I think cities are very important, and so like even regional, like Northern Thai cuisine or Southern Thai cuisine is very interesting. I know there's Little Sero is a restaurant I tried a few years ago in DC and I absolutely loved. Their goal was to sort of expose folks in DC to different dishes in Thailand that are more regional, and it's not the typical like drunken noodle or pad thai that you'd find in many Thai restaurants. One of the things that I like to do is do these experiential pop-up dinners. I always did them with my friends in Baltimore, and we would just get together and we'd informally call them Habibi dinners. And they were a group of Arab and non-Arab friends who just loved the flavors from the region. And people started asking me like, how can we try one of these Habibi dinners? There's a really awesome organization in Baltimore called Mera Kitchen Collective, and they hire refugee women and immigrant women to do catering and food work from the cultures where they're from. And this gives them a living wage, and it gives them purpose, and it gives them a way to be part of the community, which I think is so important for integration. So the way I got to know them is one day they reached out to me and they told me that there was a Syrian woman who had just come from Damascus, and she was alone. She had, you know, the refugee experience, you're ripped out of your community essentially. You no longer have your neighbors, your relatives. You needed someone to talk to, just even in the Syrian dialect, just to like sit down and chat. And that's one of my favorite things to do, is to sit down and talk about food with someone who's passionate.